You're watching the 6:15 primetime newscast in the English language on Canal, the International. Thanks for joining us. My name is Gladys Sambutima. The headlines right away. Two persons have died in a fatal accident this morning along the Obala-Bachenga road in the central region of Cameroon. The victims were on board a 30-seater bus that collided with a truck transporting sand. Several other persons are said to be in a critical condition. And women have been challenged to rise and create an impact for themselves in their respective communities. The Minister of Women's Empowerment and the Family, Marie-Thérèse Abena-Ondua, was speaking in Yaoundé on the occasion of the Day of the African Woman, saying despite efforts made for women to occupy decision-making position, many are still being tied by their socio-cultural rights. Those were our top stories. Stay tuned for developments. Good evening once again, and thanks for joining us on the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. Two persons are said to have died and dozens others said to be in critical conditions following an accident that occurred in Minkama, a few kilometers away from Obala in the central region of Cameroon. The victims were on board a 30-seater bus that collided with a truck transporting sand. Regina Leketanda tells us more.
Anxious relatives rush here at Obala District Hospital, praying for a miracle as their loved ones who survived the accident fight for their lives in intensive care. The accident occurred at about 5:30 a.m. this Tuesday, less than a kilometer from Obala, at a locality called Minkama Camp Chinois. Two persons died on the spot. We received 22 wounded persons. Amongst the wounded, 7 were in critical condition and 2 died, unfortunately. We have also evacuated some very severe cases to Yaoundé. According to reports, the accident occurred when the truck transporting sand to Yaoundé, visibly confused by this station truck carrying timber, violently hit a 30-seater bus who had on board workers of the CCN company heading to Nashtigo. The relatives of loved ones remain inconsolable. My little nephew was one of the victims. One of my friends called me early this morning, telling me there had been a fatal accident and that my nephew was amongst the victims. I rushed to the scene and indeed found him dead with his head destroyed. Calls have once again been multiplied for road users to exercise prudence on the road.
Quite unfortunate. And we have the Minister of Women's Empowerment and the Family, Marie-Thérèse Abena-Ondua, was called on women to rise and shine and create an impact for themselves in their respective communities. She was speaking in Yaoundé this day while presiding over the celebration of the 60th edition of the Day of the African Woman. Take a listen to her in this excerpt put together by Hyson Shia.
In this area, the 2020 African Union Summit has proposed various platforms and opportunities to enable African women and girls to mobilize support and promote actions so that every woman can work, fight against poverty, and participate in the development of her country. This justifies the choice of this 60th edition of the African Women's Day, namely, building women's human capital for an inclusive sustainable development, tackling the scourge of violence while significantly improving food security and good nutrition in Africa. This theme is in line with the theme of the African Women's Decade 2020-2030, which focuses on women's financial and economic inclusion.
And as Cameroon celebrates the Day of the African Woman, our newsroom took special interest on a Cameroonian woman who has been empowering women and fighting for their rights and those of children. And today she is amongst others who have been recognized by the Minister of Women's Empowerment and the Family. Discover Esther Omam in this report by Hyacinthia.
She is one of the few women that have stood out to defend the rights of children and her fellow women in Cameroon. Esther Omam, who, among others, has continuously pressed on to make the women's voice heard on the solution strives of the ongoing socio-political crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And today, as Cameroon joins the rest of Africa to celebrate women, she backs home a recognition award from the hands of the Minister of Empowerment and the Family, Marie-Thérèse Abena-Ondwa. A special moment, she says.
I have had so many awards in the past, at international level and at local level. But the distinction of today is taking me to the Hall of Fame.
Esther Omam has been at the forefront of seeking for lasting peace for over 25 years, taking her campaign to most feared areas of the country, like the Den Bakassi Peninsula, with remarkable results. The executive director of Reach Out Cameroon has, since the outbreak of the crisis in 2016, made several steps at the international scene to appease the different factions and clamor for dialogue and mediation. Esther has continuously impacted Cameroonian women and internally displaced persons to render them autonomous. She was one of the vision bearers of the Northwest and Southwest Women Task Force for Peace and Development Network and member of the first ever Women Convention for Peace in Cameroon, battling to change the narratives.
To see that women have a place where men sit, to see that women can also have a narrative which is typical.
Despite these strives, she underlines that there are lots of stumbling blocks on her peace-building path, characterized with violence and numerous threats.
And let's talk about breastfeeding, which is a natural phenomenon, the breast and sure health guarantee for newborn babies. But unfortunately today, many mothers deprive their children of these special rights. As Cameroon commemorates or joins the rest of the world to commemorate the week of breastfeeding or breastfeeding week, Omoko Somi went downtown Yaoundé and talked to some women, got their opinions on breastfeeding and put together this report.
The natural gist of feeding the baby with breast milk is what is required from the time the baby leaves the womb till the child is 6 months. Seeing this baby quietly tapping and enjoying his suck, very important to babies as it is your food and which is free of charge. According to some nurses here at Biemasi District Hospital in Yaoundé, children should receive breast milk for at least 6 months to 2 years before they start consuming water.
Breastfeeding, by the way, is free of charge. It is always available. We don't buy it. And it comes with a lot of nutrients, important nutrients, natural nutrients from the mother. And it is rich in everything.
Breastfeeding children in public, anywhere, anytime, according to some women, very natural and normal. And no one should be ashamed because these children are in need and hungry.
But for me, for breastfeeding of child in public, I don't have any problem because for my own child, I don't have problem to give something, to give it in public because somebody will talk or the other one will never say, will say something. For me, it's okay, it's normal.
For me, it is not a problem to breastfeed a child because it is essential for my baby.
Women are therefore called upon not to be discouraged. They should always breastfeed their babies and respect the exclusive breastfeeding, no matter the area or hour. All they have to ensure are clean hands and nipples.
And despite being recommended by the World Health Organization, breastfeeding a newborn baby exclusively for 6 months proved to be difficult, especially for working moms. From looking for alternative baby foods to pumping breast milk, new moms are confronted with many challenges. The breastfeeding week, running from August 1 to August 7, is here to remind women breast milk remains the best food for their newborn babies. Regina Leketandak.
6 months exclusive breastfeeding is what is recommended by the WHO, what is today becoming difficult.
Breastfeeding a child for 6 months is extremely difficult and challenging. First, I would say we don't have enough support for that, because back then, in the days when we used to live, our parents had us. But in nowadays, you find yourself preparing your own food to get the strength which you need to breastfeed your child. You see, all of that is so challenging.
Career obligations for the women folk in recent times also a challenge.
Now, in our generation, women work a lot. Back then, most wives were, they were housewives. But now, you find women working in the society, and they need to get back to work by 3 months' time. In 3 months' time, you need to have done the necessary things to make sure that your child can be able to survive, maybe.
An opinion shared by Ed Fish.
C'est très important, le lait maternel.
Breastfeeding is very essential for the baby, but today women are more and more engaged. I, for example, am head of department of an enterprise, and because of my responsibilities, cannot do 6 months exclusive breastfeeding.
On peut pas faire une maternité de 6 mois.
When we arrived here at the Daido District Hospital, it was postnatal clinic day. Some of the women say they are still sticking to the 6 months exclusive breastfeeding rule. Medics here have given reasons why new moms should give breast milk to their babies.
L'allaitement maternel a comme avantage d'être gratuit.
Breast milk has so many advantages. It is free of charge, it is readily available, it has antibodies and contains several nutrients needed by the baby to grow well.
Et permet une bonne croissance à l'enfant.
Celebrated every year from August 1st to August the 7th, the Breastfeeding Awareness Week currently on helps to raise awareness on the need for mothers to give breast milk to their babies, a culture that is steadily declining.
And we talk economy. The management of the Douala Autonomous Port has instructed the Douala Port weighing service in charge of weighing certain foodstuffs, such as wheat, at the port to suspend the payments of weighing fees. Officials of the port says this is in line with the fight led by the government against high prices of goods. According to the decision, this will be for a period of 6 months running from March to August 2022, a period already expiring. But wheat importers say this will certainly not have an impact on the current high wheat flour prices, because weighing fee has no significant effect on the overall cost of importation of wheat into the country. Let's listen to the Secretary General of the Trade Union of Wheat Importers, Alfred Nomo Ebonge, in this excerpt put together by the newsroom.
This decision has been taken in the earlier of February. That's the reason why the communique you see is talking of having reimbursement, because we have been paying all these fees for the last 5 months. Things have taken more time in Port Authority of Douala to be put in place, where other measures that we have at the same time were implemented immediately. This has a very small impact in our cost, in our production cost, because the main part of our production cost is done by our raw material, which is 80% of all our costs. So these other charges, like the weighing fees and other charges, has a very small impact. And what I would like to tell to population, to our consumers, is that during the period of 6 months, and especially in the beginning of the year, we have had an increase of 4,000 francs per bag of flour. It is a period where we were buying our wheat in a very, very high cost. So, you see, having a small percentage these 4,000 francs done by the suspension of the weighing fee. This has a very small impact. So the decrease of the cost of a bag of flour is not for now.
And we have Cameroonians that are this week celebrating their martyrs. Our interest this day is to know if the population actually know of their martyrs. Our reporters in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, Beatrice Ngamo and Zela Monyon talked to Yaoundé city dwellers and put together this report.
Knowledge on their own martyrs in Cameroon, twofold. Those who know and they know not.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I know.
Yes, I do know a few of them.
Some can cite about 2, 3, 4 names they know. People who have left their blueprints in the history of the country.
Martin Paul Samba, Ruben Umnyobe, I know you.
Umnyobe, Martin Samba, those are the people I know.
Umnyobe, Gongawanji, Monseigneur Dormo.
John Good Foncha, I know Ndele, King Douala Bangabel.
Remembered for their determined and patriotic spirit.
Umnyobe will be a fighting man for liberty in Cameroon.
Their works make me to know them. In fact, they are people that have done a lot and we wish to be like them. We wish to be like them because their history and the things they achieved really makes them known.
Only the fact that they are in the history of Cameroon, I'd admire them because there are thousands of historians. But the fact that your name is already written on a book, it means that you did something extraordinary for your name to appear on a book.
Like them, some don't even know there are Cameroonian martyrs.
I don't remember because after you start asking me questions. Non, je ne connais pas. Non.
No, je ne connais pas. Je voulais que vous voulez demander la définition.
The stance of Yaoundé population, those at the Ngoikele neighborhood. During the celebration of this week of martyrs, that is persons who have suffered and are killed because of their religious or political beliefs, and many went down the lane, especially in line with the independence struggle. Several do not only acknowledge them, but are of the conviction they represented a good cause.
And it is with that report that we wrap up this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal, the International. The French edition will be yours at 19h50 with Alain Gisler Kanga. Up next is Debrief de l'Actualité with Lil Piedju. I will be yours again, same time tomorrow, God's willing. Bye-bye.